It's December. The year is ending. Everyone around you is talking about what they accomplished, what they built, what they became. And you're sitting there scrolling through highlight reels, year-end summaries, success stories. And with every post, every story, every celebration, you feel it. That crushing weight, that quiet voice asking, "What did you do this year?" And the answer is deafening. Your brain isn't just reflecting on the year, it's weaponizing it, turning every missed opportunity, every unfulfilled intention, every moment you chose comfort over growth into evidence. Evidence that you're behind, that you wasted time, that another year passed and you're still the same person in the same place with the same problems. And that realization doesn't just hurt, it paralyzes you. We've been taught that reflecting on the year is healthy, that taking inventory of what worked and what didn't helps you grow. But that's only true if your brain is using reflection as a tool for growth. For most people, it's not. Your brain is using year-end reflection as a weapon of self-destruction. It's comparing your reality to an impossible standard and then punishing you for the gap. And that punishment is what's crushing you right now. This is the year-end sabotage. Your mind takes the natural human practice of reflection and twists it into a form of psychological warfare. It forces you to measure your entire year against everyone else's carefully curated highlights, then concludes you failed. And that false conclusion creates a shame spiral that makes starting fresh in January almost impossible. Because how do you start new when you're carrying the weight of feeling like you wasted the last 12 months? Think about how you actually feel right now, not what you're supposed to feel, hope, excitement, readiness for a fresh start, but what you actually feel. Heavy, disappointed, maybe a little ashamed, like everyone else used this year and you let it slip through your fingers, like they were building and you were just surviving, like the gap between who you are and who you thought you'd be by now is too wide to ever close. That feeling isn't accidental. Your brain is designed to compare. It's an evolutionary mechanism that helped our ancestors assess status, safety, and belonging in social groups. But in the age of social media and year-end summaries, that comparison mechanism has become a source of constant suffering. Because you're not comparing your real life to other people's real lives. You're comparing your behind the scenes to everyone else's highlight reel. And that's a battle you'll lose every single time. This is the comparison trap. Your brain can't distinguish between a carefully edited Instagram story and reality. So when you see someone's year-in-review post showing travel, achievements, growth, and transformation, your brain registers it as they succeeded and you didn't. Never mind that you're seeing their best 12 moments out of 365 days. Never mind that you have no idea what they struggled with, what they sacrificed, what they're not showing. Your brain sees success and immediately weaponizes it against you. Rachel spent the last week of December paralyzed. She couldn't make plans for January, couldn't set goals, couldn't even think about the new year without feeling crushed by the weight of the one ending. Because every time she tried to look forward, her brain forced her to look back. And looking back felt like staring at evidence of failure. Friends got promotions, colleagues launched businesses. Everyone seemed to be moving forward while she stayed stuck. But here's what Rachel's brain wasn't showing her: the full picture. Her friend who got promoted worked 80-hour weeks and barely saw her family. Her colleague who launched a business is drowning in debt and stress. The people who looked like they were winning were often just better at hiding what they were losing. But Rachel's brain didn't care about context. It only cared about the comparison. And in that comparison, Rachel felt like she lost. This is the context blindness. When your brain compares, it strips away all context. It takes a complex human life full of struggles, trade-offs, sacrifices, and invisible challenges and reduces it to a single data point: success or failure. And when you reduce people's lives to data points, you always lose, because you're comparing your entire messy reality to their polished, curated surface.
But the torture isn't just about comparison. It's about the narrative your brain builds from that comparison. It doesn't just say, they did well this year. It says, they did well and you didn't, which means something is wrong with you. It takes external observation and turns it into internal judgment. And that judgment becomes the story you believe about yourself. This is the narrative weapon. Your brain doesn't just show you what happened this year. It tells you what it means. And the meaning it assigns is almost always brutal. You didn't achieve your goals? That means you're lazy. You didn't change your habits? That means you lack discipline. You didn't build the life you wanted? That means you're inadequate. The brain takes outcomes and turns them into identity. And that transformation is what crushes you. Michael set goals in January, real ones. He was going to get in shape, build better habits, take control of his life. And for a few weeks, he did. But by March, he was back to old patterns. And now it's December, and he's looking back at a year where he started strong and finished exactly where he began. And his brain isn't saying, you tried and it was hard. It's saying, you failed because you're not strong enough to change. But that narrative is a lie. Michael didn't fail because he's weak. He failed because he was fighting his own biology without understanding how it works. He tried to change everything at once, which overwhelmed his brain's capacity for new behavior. He relied on motivation, which is temporary, instead of systems, which are sustainable. He judged himself harshly every time he slipped, which created shame, and shame kills momentum. His failure wasn't evidence of inadequacy. It was evidence of a flawed strategy. But his brain doesn't care about strategy. It cares about the story. And the story it's telling is that he is the problem. That if he just tried harder, wanted it more, had more willpower, he would have succeeded. And that story is destroying him because it's making next year feel impossible before it even starts. Why try again if you're just going to fail again? Why set goals if you're just proving you can't reach them? This is the learned helplessness. When your brain concludes that your efforts don't matter, that you're inherently incapable of change, it stops trying. Not because you're weak, but because it's conserving energy. Your brain has decided that effort is futile, so why waste resources on something that won't work? And that decision, made unconsciously, based on false narratives, is what keeps you stuck. But there's another layer to this torture. It's not just what you didn't accomplish, it's what you didn't become. The version of yourself you thought you'd be by now. The person who's confident, successful, fulfilled, at peace. You had a vision of who you'd be by the end of this year. And the person you actually are doesn't match that vision. And that gap between imagined self and actual self is maybe the most painful part of year-end reflection. This is the identity gap. You've been carrying an image of your future self for months, or maybe years. And every day that you don't become that person, the gap gets wider. And now it's December. The year is ending, and you're forced to confront the fact that you're still not who you thought you'd be. And that confrontation feels like failure. Like you let yourself down. Like you're running out of time to become who you're supposed to be. Sophie imagined she'd be in a different place by now. Literally and figuratively. Different city, different job, different life. She spent years talking about change, planning for it, dreaming about it. But every time the opportunity came to actually make the leap, she chose safety. And now it's December, and she's still in the same apartment, the same job, the same routines. And the gap between who she imagined she'd be and who she actually is feels unbearable. But here's what Sophie's brain won't tell her. The imagined self was always a fantasy, not because the vision was impossible, but because the vision skipped all the messy, difficult, unglamorous work required to get there. She imagined the destination without accounting for the journey, and now she's judging herself for not reaching a destination she never actually committed to walking toward.
This is the fantasy accountability. Your brain creates a vision of who you could be, then holds you accountable for not becoming that person, even though you never actually did the work required to transform. It's like punishing yourself for not winning a race you never entered. The vision was inspiring, but it was never a plan. And without a plan, the vision was just a way to feel good about potential without ever actualizing it. So how do you stop this? How do you end the year without being crushed by the weight of what you didn't do? First, you have to separate reflection from judgment. Reflection is looking at what happened. Judgment is deciding what it means about you. Your brain conflates the two, but they're not the same. You can acknowledge that you didn't reach your goals without concluding that you're a failure. This is the neutral inventory. Look at the year honestly. What did you do? What didn't you do? What worked? What didn't? But do it without the narrative, without the voice saying this means you're lazy or this proves you can't change. Just observe, like you're looking at someone else's year with curiosity instead of judgment. What happened? That's it. No story, no meaning, just data. Rachel started doing this in late December. She made a list of everything she did this year. Not achievements, just actions. She showed up to work. She maintained relationships. She dealt with challenges. She kept going even when it was hard. And when she looked at the list without judgment, she realized she didn't waste the year. She survived it. And survival in a year that was difficult is not nothing. Second, you have to stop comparing your year to other people's highlight reels. Everyone's showing their best moments. No one's posting their failures, their struggles, their ordinary days. You're comparing your full experience to their edited version. And that comparison is making you feel like you're losing a game that doesn't even exist. Michael unfollowed everyone whose content made him feel inadequate. Not out of bitterness, but out of self-preservation. He realized that constantly consuming other people's curated success was feeding the narrative that he was falling behind. And once he stopped consuming it, the pressure eased. He could focus on his own path without constantly measuring it against theirs. Third, you have to redefine what a successful year looks like. Maybe you didn't achieve the big goals, but did you learn something? Did you grow in ways that aren't visible? Did you become slightly more aware, slightly more honest, slightly more capable? Growth isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's just showing up a little differently than you did before. Sophie didn't move cities, didn't change jobs, but she did start being honest with herself about why she was staying. And that honesty, painful as it was growth. Because she stopped lying to herself about waiting for the right time and started admitting she was afraid. And admitting fear is the first step to working through it. Fourth, you have to let go of the fantasy self. The person you thought you'd be by now was never real. It was a projection, a hope, a possibility. But beating yourself up for not becoming a fantasy is insane. You can't fail to become someone who never existed. You can only choose moving forward to build toward a real version of growth that accounts for who you actually are and what's actually required. This is the reality alignment. Stop measuring yourself against imagined standards and start building from where you actually are, not where you wish you were, not where you think you should be, where you are, right now. With all your limitations, your fears, your patterns, that's the only place transformation can actually begin.
The year is ending. And yes, maybe you didn't accomplish everything you wanted. Maybe you're standing in a similar place to where you started. Maybe the gap between your vision and your reality feels crushing. But that gap isn't evidence of failure. It's evidence that you're human. And humans don't transform on neat annual schedules. Humans transform slowly, messily, imperfectly, through repeated effort over time. Your brain is using year-end reflection to break you down, but you can use it to build yourself up, not through toxic positivity or pretending everything's fine, but through honest, compassionate inventory, through seeing what actually happened without the crushing weight of what it supposedly means about you. Rachel realized her year wasn't wasted. It was hard, and she got through it. And getting through a hard year is an accomplishment, even if it doesn't look impressive on a highlight reel. Michael realized his failed attempts at change weren't evidence that he's broken. They were evidence that he needs a different approach. Sophie realized the gap between her imagined life and her real life wasn't failure. It was information. Information she can use to make real decisions instead of fantasy plans. The weight you're feeling right now is real, but it's not the weight of a wasted year. It's the weight of false narratives, the weight of comparison, the weight of judgment. And you can put that weight down, not by pretending the year was perfect, but by seeing it clearly, by owning what happened without letting it define what's possible next. Because here's the truth your brain won't tell you. The year isn't over yet. You still have days left, and those days matter, not because you can suddenly accomplish everything you didn't do all year, but because you can choose how this year ends. You can end it carrying shame and regret into January, or you can end it with clarity, honesty, and a real plan built on who you actually are instead of who you wish you were. The year didn't break you. The story your brain told about the year is what's breaking you, and stories can be rewritten, not with lies or delusion, but with truth, with context, with compassion. You didn't waste the year. You lived it. And living is never a waste, even when it's hard, even when it doesn't match the vision, even when you end up somewhere you didn't plan to be. So stop letting your mind use December as a weapon. Stop letting year-end summaries become evidence of your inadequacy. Stop letting everyone else's highlight reel determine your worth. You're exactly where you are, and from here you can build. Not perfectly, not immediately, but really, one choice at a time, one day at a time, starting now. The holidays will pass, January will come, and you'll either step into it crushed by the weight of what you didn't do, or you'll step into it clear about what's actually possible. The choice is yours. But the choice only becomes possible when you stop letting your brain torture you with results that were never the full story. This year taught you something, even if it didn't give you what you wanted. It taught you what doesn't work, what you're not willing to sacrifice, what patterns you're still carrying, what fears are still running you. And that knowledge, painful as it is the foundation for real change. Not fantasy change, real change. Rachel is going into January different, not because she suddenly became someone new, but because she's done pretending. She's done comparing. She's done judging herself for being human. Michael is going into January with a plan that actually accounts for his brain instead of fighting it. Sophie is going into January with honesty instead of fantasy. And that shift from delusion to clarity is where transformation actually starts.
You didn't waste the year. You spent it learning what doesn't work. And if you're willing to face that honestly, instead of drowning in shame about it, you can use that knowledge to build something real. Not impressive, not Instagram-worthy. Real, sustainable, yours. The weight you're carrying isn't the year, it's the judgment. And judgment isn't truth. It's just a story your brain is telling to make sense of disappointment. But disappointment is just the gap between expectation and reality. And you can close that gap by changing expectations, by changing reality, or by accepting that some gaps are okay, that you're okay, even with the gaps. December is almost over. The year is ending, and you have a choice. You can let your mind torture you with what didn't happen, Or you can take inventory of what did, learn from it, and use it to build something different. Not perfect, not immediate, but real. And real is all you need. Stop measuring this year against an impossible standard. Stop comparing your messy reality to other people's polished surfaces. Stop beating yourself up for being human in a year that required everything you had just to survive. You made it. You're here. And that's enough to build from. The weight of the year isn't wasted until you decide it is. And you haven't decided yet. You're still here, still thinking, still capable of looking at what happened and choosing what it means. So choose carefully, because the story you tell about this year will determine how you enter the next one. You can enter January crushed and defeated, convinced you'll just repeat the same patterns because that's who you are. Or you can enter January honest and clear, ready to try differently because you finally understand what didn't work and why. The year's results don't determine that. Your interpretation of the results does. So rewrite the interpretation, not with lies, with truth. The truth that transformation is slow, that everyone's struggling more than they show, that surviving a hard year is an accomplishment, that you're not behind. You're exactly where your choices and circumstances have led you. And from here, you can choose differently. The weight of the year is only as heavy as the story you're telling about it. And you get to choose the story. You can tell the one where you failed, wasted time, fell behind, proved you can't change. Or you can tell the one where you learned, survived, stayed in the game, and gathered the information you need to build something real. Both stories are based on the same year, but only one of them gives you the power to move forward. So which story are you telling? Because the year doesn't end until you decide what it meant. And what it meant is entirely up to you.